Ho checked the controls for the third time. His hands moved slowly over each button and switch. He wanted to make sure everything was correct. The repair had taken him 6 hours and he was tired. But tired was not an excuse for mistakes. Not on a starship. Not when lives depended on machines working properly. The room was small and quiet. Most of the crew was sleeping at this hour. The ship moved through empty space, far from any planet or station. There was nothing to do except routine work. And for Ho, that meant fixing the broken in Bay 7. He was young, only 24 years old. He had been on the Starship Horizon for just 3 months. It was his first real job after finishing his training on Earth. He had dreamed of working in space since he was a child. Now that dream was real, but the reality was less exciting than he had imagined. Mostly, he fixed broken things and cleaned dirty machines. Ho looked at his tablet. The numbers looked good. The energy levels were stable. The targeting system showed green lights. Everything seemed perfect. He should call his supervisor. That was the rule. No one was supposed to test alone. But his supervisor, a grumpy old man named Sung, was sleeping, and Ho did not want to wake him for a simple test. The old man would just complain and tell him to do it himself anyway. Besides, it was just a short test. He would teleport a small metal box to the other side of the room. If that worked, the repair was successful. Simple. Ho placed a small metal box on the pad. He walked back to the control panel. His finger hovered over the activation button. Just a small test, he said to himself. Nothing can go wrong. He pressed the button. The hummed blue light filled the room. The metal box began to glow. Everything looked normal for about 2 seconds. Then the lights turned red. Warning sounds filled the air. The control panel sparked and smoked. Ho stepped back in surprise. His foot caught on a cable. He fell backward, his arms reaching out for something to hold. His hand grabbed the edge of the pad just as a bright flash of light exploded from the machine. Then everything went dark. When Ho opened his eyes, he was lying on a hard floor, but it was not the floor of the room. This floor was covered with a soft, dark carpet. He could smell something strange in the air. It was like the smell of a forest after rain, mixed with something sharp and metallic. He pushed himself up slowly. His head hurt. His vision was blurry. He blinked several times, trying to see clearly. The room around him was large and beautiful. Dark walls with silver decorations, weapons hanging in neat rows, a massive window showing the stars outside, a desk made of black wood, shelves filled with books and strange objects. This was not the Horizon. This was not any human ship he had ever seen. Ho felt his heart begin to beat faster. Where was he? How did he get here? Then he heard a sound behind him. A low, deep growl that made every hair on his body stand up. He turned around slowly. Standing near a doorway was the most terrifying creature he had ever seen. She was tall, almost 7 feet. Her body was covered in silver-gray fur. Her face was like a wolf, with a long snout and sharp teeth. Her eyes were golden, bright and intelligent, and very, very dangerous. She wore a military uniform, black with silver buttons. Medals covered her chest. A long coat hung from her shoulders like a cape. Everything about her screamed power and authority. Ho recognized the uniform. It belonged to the Empire. There were wolf-like aliens who controlled a large part of the galaxy. They were proud warriors, fierce fighters. They had been enemies of humanity for a long time. Only recently had they signed a peace treaty with Earth. But that peace was fragile. Many still hated humans. And this was clearly important, very important. The creature tilted her head. Her golden eyes looked at Ho like he was an insect she might decide to eat. Then her mouth opened in what might have been a smile. But with all those sharp teeth, it looked more like a threat. "Lost rookie," she said. Her voice was deep and smooth. Each word came out slow and careful, like she was enjoying his fear. Ho could not speak. His throat was dry. His legs were shaking. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. He wanted to explain, but no words would come out. They took a step closer. Her claws clicked on the floor. The sound was like drums announcing death. "I asked you a question, human," she said. "Are you lost, or are you exactly where you wanted to be?" Ho finally found his voice. It came out weak and small. There was an accident. It malfunctioned. I did not mean to come here. I do not even know where here is." They laughed. It was a low, rumbling sound that vibrated through the air. "You are on the flagship of the 3rd Imperial Fleet," she said. "In my private quarters, my personal space that no one enters without permission, and you want me to believe you arrived by accident." Ho nodded quickly. Yes, I swear, I was testing a repair. Something went wrong. I fell onto the pad and then I was here. Please, I am just an engineer. I am nobody important. I would never try to sneak onto a ship." They walked around him in a slow circle. She was studying him like a predator studies prey. Her nose twitched as she smelled him. "You are afraid," she said. "I can smell it coming off you in waves. Your heart is beating so fast I can hear it. Your body is shaking like a leaf in the wind." She stopped in front of him again. Her face was very close to his now. He could see every detail of her fur, every sharp edge of her teeth. "If you are a spy," she continued, "you are the worst spy I have ever seen. No spy would look this scared. No spy would smell this weak." Ho did not know if that was an insult or a compliment. He decided it was better not to ask. "What is your name, human?" they demanded. "Ho, Junior Engineer 3rd Class, Starship Horizon." The ears moved forward with interest. "The Horizon, that is the human ship traveling with our fleet for the diplomatic mission." "Yes," Ho said, feeling a tiny bit of hope. "Yes, we are allies. We are here for the peace talks." "Allies," they repeated. The word sounded strange in her mouth, like she was tasting something she did not like. Such a new word, such a fragile word. She turned away from him and walked to her desk. She pressed a button on a communication device. "Captain Han, come to my quarters immediately. Bring 2 guards." Ho felt his hope disappear. Guards. That meant he was in serious trouble. That meant he would be treated as a prisoner. "Please," he said, "if you just contact the Horizon, they will explain. They will tell you I am telling the truth." They sat down in her chair. She leaned back and watched him with those golden eyes. "Oh, I will contact them," she said, "but not yet. First, I want to understand exactly what happened. How did you send you here? My ship has shields against such things. It should be impossible." Ho thought about the malfunction, the red lights, the sparking control panel. "I do not know," he admitted. "That was broken. I fixed it. Or I thought I fixed it. When I tested it, something went wrong. Maybe the energy levels were too high. Maybe the targeting system was damaged in a way I did not see." They leaned forward. "You admit you made a mistake with dangerous technology. You admit you were careless. And that carelessness brought you into the most secure room on my ship." When she said it like that, Ho realized how bad it sounded. "I am sorry," he said. "I truly am. I never meant for this to happen." The door opened. A tall male walked in, followed by 2 guards. The male was younger than the female, with darker fur and a scar across his face. He looked at Ho with surprise and disgust. "Admiral," the male said, bowing his head to the female. "What is this human doing in your quarters?" Admiral. Ho felt his blood turn cold. He had heard that name. Everyone in the fleet had heard that name. Admiral was one of the most powerful military leaders in the Empire. She had won 100 battles. She had destroyed entire enemy fleets. She was known as the Silver Death among her enemies. And he had just teleported into her bedroom. "This human claims he arrived by accident," Admiral said. "A malfunction, he says." Captain Han laughed harshly. "Impossible. Our shields would prevent any signal." "And yet here he is," Admiral replied. "Interesting, yes." She stood up and walked toward Ho again. She was so tall that he had to look up to see her face. "This could mean one of two things," she said. "Either our shields have a weakness we did not know about, or this human has technology that can break through our defenses." "Both options are dangerous," Captain Han said. "We should interrogate him immediately." Admiral held up her hand. "Patience, Captain. Look at him. Really look at him. Does this look like a soldier? Does this look like a threat?" They all looked at Ho. He was average height for a human, thin from too much work and not enough food. His uniform was dirty and wrinkled. His hair was messy. His face was pale with fear. "He looks like a child," Captain Han admitted. "He looks like what he claims to be," Admiral said. "A young engineer who made a stupid mistake, but we will make sure. Take him to a holding cell. Treat him well. I will contact the human ship and verify his story." The guards grabbed Ho's arms. Their grip was strong. He could feel their claws through his uniform. "Wait," Admiral said. The guard stopped. "What was your name again, human?" "Ho," he said. "Ho." Admiral nodded slowly. "Ho, remember this moment, little engineer. Remember that you stood in my quarters and lived. Not many can say that." She waved her hand. The guards pulled Ho toward the door. As he was dragged away, Ho looked back. Admiral was watching him, and on her wolf face there was something that might have been a smile. Or it might have been hunger. He could not tell the difference. The guards took him through long corridors. The ship was very different from the horizon. Everything was darker. The walls were decorated with pictures of battles and famous warriors. Others watched him pass with curiosity and hostility. Finally, they reached a holding cell. It was small but clean. A simple bed, a toilet, a sink, no window. The guards pushed him inside. The door closed with a heavy sound. Ho sat down on the bed. His legs could not hold him anymore. His whole body was shaking. He thought about what had just happened. He thought about Admiral, those golden eyes, that sharp smile, the way she had looked at him like he was something interesting but also something small. He had heard stories about her. Everyone had heard stories. She was ruthless. She was brilliant. She had no mercy for her enemies. But she had not killed him. She had not hurt him. She had even told her captain to treat him well. Why? Ho did not know, but he was alive. For now, that was enough. He lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere on another ship, his supervisor was probably waking up, probably discovering the broken and the missing engineer, probably getting very angry. Ho almost smiled at that thought. Getting yelled at by Sung seemed like a small problem now, a nice problem, a safe problem. He closed his eyes and tried to rest. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if the Admiral would believe his story. He did not know if he would ever see the horizon again. But he was alive, and wherever there was life there was hope. That was what his mother had always told him. She had said it when he left Earth. She had said it when he was scared about his new job. She had said it so many times that the words were burned into his heart. Where there is life, there is hope. Ho held onto those words as he lay in the dark cell on the enemy ship. He held onto them tight and did not let go. Outside, the stars continued to shine. The great fleet moved through space. An admiral sat in her quarters, thinking about the strange human who had fallen into her life. She did not know why, but something about him interested her. Something about the fear in his eyes. Something about the way he had stood there, shaking but not crying, scared but not broken. Humans were strange creatures, weak and soft, no claws, no fur, no natural weapons at all. And yet they had built an empire that stretched across the stars. They had fought to a standstill. They had earned a place at the table of galactic powers. How, that question had always interested Admiral. What made humans special? What made them dangerous? Maybe this little engineer would help her understand. She smiled to herself and looked out at the stars. Tomorrow would be interesting. Ho did not sleep well. The bed was hard. The room was cold, and every sound made him jump with fear. He kept expecting the door to open. He kept expecting guards to drag him away for interrogation. But morning came without any trouble, or at least he thought it was morning. There were no windows in the cell. There was no way to know what time it was. A slot opened in the door. A tray of food slid through. The slot closed again. Ho looked at the food. It was not human food. There were chunks of dark meat, some kind of bread that smelled like grass, a cup of liquid that might have been water or might have been something else entirely. He was hungry. He had not eaten since the day before, so he ate. The meat was tough but tasty. The bread was strange but not bad. The liquid was just water after all. After eating, he waited. There was nothing else to do. He sat on the bed. He paced around the small room. He counted the tiles on the floor. He made up stories in his head about what was happening outside. Hours passed. At least it felt like hours. Time moved strangely in a room with no windows. Finally, the door opened. Captain Han stood in the doorway. His scar looked even more frightening in the harsh light. Behind him were the same two guards from before. "The Admiral wants to see you," Han said. "Follow me. Do not try to run. Do not try to fight. If you cause any trouble, I will enjoy hurting you." Ho nodded quickly. He had no intention of causing trouble. He had no way to cause trouble even if he wanted to. They walked through the corridors again. More watched him pass. Some growled at him. Some laughed. One young female snapped her teeth near his face, making him stumble backward in fear. Captain Han said nothing. He did not stop the harassment. He might have been smiling, but it was hard to tell with his wolf face. They arrived at a large door. Han pressed his hand against a panel. The door slid open. The room inside was some kind of office. A big desk covered with papers and screens. Maps of star systems on the walls. Chairs that were designed for bodies, too big and too low for a human. Admiral sat behind the desk. She was reading something on a tablet. She did not look up when they entered. "Leave us," she said. Captain Han looked surprised. Admiral is that wise. He could be dangerous. Now did look up. Her golden eyes were cold. "Captain, if I cannot handle one small human engineer, I do not deserve my rank. Leave us. Wait outside." Han bowed stiffly. He clearly did not like the order, but he obeyed. The guards followed him out. The door closed. Ho stood alone with Admiral. She put down her tablet and looked at him. Really looked at him, the way she had done the night before, like she was studying an interesting puzzle. "Sit," she said, pointing to a chair. Ho sat. The chair was uncomfortable for his body. His feet barely touched the floor. He felt like a child in an adult's chair. Continued to watch him. The silence stretched out. Ho felt sweat forming on his forehead. "I contacted your ship," finally said. "The Horizon." Ho felt hope rise in his chest. "And did they explain? Did they confirm my story?" "They confirmed that an engineer named Ho is missing. They confirmed that there was a malfunction. They are very worried about you. Your captain has sent many messages asking for your return." The hope grew stronger. "Then you know I was telling the truth. It really was an accident. I am not a spy." Tilted her head. "I know that your story matches what your ship says, but that does not mean I know the truth. Your ship could be lying. They could have sent you on purpose and created a fake story to explain it." The hope began to fade. Why would they do that? "Many reasons: to spy on us, to test our defenses, to create an incident that would damage the peace talks." Stood up and walked around the desk. She moved like a hunter, smooth and silent. "The peace between our peoples is very new, human. Many on my side do not trust it. Many think it is a trick." "It is not a trick," Ho said. "We want peace. We are tired of war." "So you say," stopped in front of him, looking down at him. "But words are easy. Trust is hard. Your people have fought mine for many years. We have killed each other. We have destroyed each other's worlds. that history does not disappear because some politicians signed a paper. Ho did not know what to say. She was right. The war had been long and terrible. His own grandfather had died fighting many humans still hated them. "I am not asking you to trust all humans," he said carefully. "I am just asking you to trust me. I am nobody important. I fix broken machines. I clean dirty engines. I have no secrets worth stealing." Was quiet for a moment, then she did something unexpected. She laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was almost gentle, almost warm. "You are honest," she said. "I can smell lies, all can. Your body changes when you lie. Your heart beats differently. Your sweat smells different. And you, little engineer, you have not lied to me once." Ho felt a wave of relief. "Then you believe me." "I believe that you believe what you are saying. I believe that you did not come here on purpose." Walked back to her desk and sat down. "But I cannot return you yet. Not until I understand how you broke through our shields." Ho's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Our shields should stop all signals. They have stopped thousands of such signals before. Yet you appeared in my quarters as easily as walking through a door. That should be impossible, and impossible things make me nervous." She picked up her tablet again. "You will stay on my ship until we solve this mystery. You will work with my engineers to examine the problem. If you help us find the answer, I will return you to your people with my thanks. If you refuse to help, I will assume you are hiding something, and I will treat you as a spy." Ho understood. He did not have a choice. He had to help. "I will do whatever you need," he said. "I want to understand what happened too. It scared me as much as it scared you." Smiled, a small smile that showed just the tips of her teeth. "I doubt that very much, but I appreciate the effort." She pressed a button on her desk. A moment later, the door opened and Captain Han entered. "The human will be staying with us," said. "Give him quarters, not a cell, real quarters. He is our guest, not our prisoner." Han looked unhappy. "Admiral, I must object. Having a human walk freely on our ship is dangerous. The crew will not accept it." "The crew will do as I command," said. Her voice was hard as steel. "Anyone who harms this human will answer to me personally. Is that clear?" Han bowed his head. "Yes, Admiral." "Good. Also, arrange for him to meet with Chief Engineer Han Sol. They will work together to understand the incident." Ho noticed's eyes flicker for just a moment. A tiny flash of something. Tiredness. Pain. It was gone so fast he was not sure he had really seen it. But he remembered it. He filed it away in his mind. Something was wrong with the Admiral, something she was hiding. Captain Han led Ho to his new quarters. They were much better than the cell. A real room with a window showing the stars. A bed that looked comfortable. A small bathroom. Even a desk with a computer terminal. "You will stay here when you are not working," Han said. "Do not wander the ship alone. Do not talk to crew members unless necessary. Do not cause problems." "I understand," Ho said. "Thank you." Han made a sound of disgust. "Do not thank me. I do not agree with this decision. If I had my way, you would be in the deepest cell on this ship, waiting for your people to pay for your return." He left without another word. The door closed, but it did not lock. Ho was not a prisoner anymore. He was something between a guest and a suspect. He walked to the window and looked out at space. Somewhere out there, the horizon was traveling with the fleet. His friends were there. His life was there. But it might as well have been 1,000,000 miles away. He spent the rest of the day alone. Food was brought to him at regular times. The meals were still food, but someone had made an effort. The meat was cooked softer. There were some vegetables that looked almost like earth vegetables. It was thoughtful. The next morning, a young came to his door. She was smaller than the others he had seen. Her fur was a light brown color. Her eyes were kind. "I am," she said. "I work in engineering. Chief Engineer Han Sol sent me to bring you." "Thank you," Ho said. He was surprised to meet a who did not seem to hate him. As they walked through the corridors, talked to him. She was curious about humans. She had never met one before. "Is it true that humans cannot see in the dark?" she asked. "Mostly true," Ho said. "Our eyes need light to see." "How strange. And you really have no fur at all, just that little bit on your head." Ho smiled a little. "We have hair in a few places, but yes, mostly we are smooth." Shook her head in wonder. "You must get so cold." They arrived at the engineering section. It was huge. Machines and computers everywhere, technicians working on different projects. In the center of it all was an older with gray in his fur. This had to be Chief Engineer Han Sol. Han Sol looked at Ho with suspicious eyes, but when he spoke, his voice was professional. "So you are the human who broke our shields. Show me what you did." Ho explained everything. The repair he had made, the tests that went wrong. He drew diagrams on a computer screen. He answered every question Han Sol asked. The work continued for many days. Ho and Han Sol examined the shields together. They compared them to human technology. They ran simulations and tests. Slowly, they began to find answers. There was a tiny frequency gap in the shields, a gap so small that no one had ever noticed it before. Human normally did not use that frequency, but when Ho's malfunctioned, it had sent him through at exactly that frequency. It was a 1,000,000-to-1 chance, a freak accident that had found a needle in a haystack. Han Sol was impressed despite himself. "You have a good mind," he told Ho one day, "for a human." "Thank you," Ho said, "I think." As the days passed, Ho began to notice things. He noticed that the crew worked very long hours. He noticed that many systems on the ship were old and needed repair. He noticed that supplies seemed to be running low. And he noticed Admiral. She came to engineering sometimes to check on their progress. Each time, Ho watched her carefully, and each time he saw the same thing. Behind her fierce eyes there was exhaustion. Behind her strong voice there was strain. She was tired, deeply, terribly tired. She was carrying a heavy weight on her shoulders, and she was hiding it from everyone. One evening, Ho was working late. Most of the engineering staff had gone to eat dinner. He was alone, running one more simulation on the shield frequencies. The door opened. Admiral walked in. She stopped when she saw him. She had not expected anyone to be there. For a moment her mask slipped. Her shoulders sagged. Her ears drooped. She looked not like a fearsome admiral but like someone who was very, very tired. Then she saw Ho watching her. The mask came back. Her body straightened. Her eyes sharpened. "Working late, engineer?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral," Ho said. "I wanted to finish this simulation." She walked over to look at his screen. She stood close to him. He could feel the warmth of her body. He could smell her scent like forests and steel. "You work hard," she said. "Han Sol tells me you are useful." "I am trying to be," Ho said. Then before he could stop himself, he added, "You work hard too hard maybe." Looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" Ho knew he should stay quiet. He knew he was speaking to one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but he had seen her tiredness. He had seen her pain, and something in him could not ignore it. "I see you," he said softly. "I see how tired you are, how much you carry. You hide it well, but I can see it." For a long moment said nothing. Her golden eyes stared into his. He could not read her expression. Then very quietly she spoke. "You see too much, little engineer. That could be dangerous." "I do not mean any harm," Ho said. I wanted you to know that someone sees, that you are not alone." His expression changed, just slightly. The hardness softened for a moment. "You are strange," she said. "Not like other humans I have known. They were always loud and aggressive, always trying to prove they were strong, but you are quiet, you watch, you notice things others miss." "Is that bad?" Ho asked. "I do not know yet," admitted. "Ask me again later." She turned and walked toward the door, But before she left, she stopped and looked back. "Do not stay too late," she said. "Even engineers need rest." Then she was gone. Ho sat in the empty engineering room for a long time. He thought about what had just happened. He thought about the look in his eyes, the brief moment when her mask had fallen. She was not just a fearsome admiral. She was also a person with burdens and worries, a person who was tired and maybe a little bit lonely. He did not know why that mattered to him. He did not know why he cared. But he did. Somehow, against all logic, he did. He saved his simulation and turned off the computer. Then he went back to his quarters to sleep. And as he lay in his bed looking out at the stars, he thought about Admiral. He thought about her golden eyes and her silver fur. He thought about her strength and her hidden weakness. He thought about her until sleep finally came. And in his dreams he saw her smile. Not a predator's smile, not a hunter's smile. Just a smile. Simple and beautiful and real. 2 weeks passed on the flagship. Ho fell into a routine: wake up, eat breakfast, go to engineering, work with Han Solo, eat lunch, work more, eat dinner, return to quarters, sleep, repeat. It was not an exciting life, but it was not a bad one either. The crew slowly became less hostile. They still did not like him. He was still an outsider, but they had stopped growling at him in the hallways. Some of them even nodded to him as he passed. Became something like a friend. She brought him lunch every day. She told him stories about culture. She laughed at his questions about her people. "Why do shake their heads when they agree?" Ho asked one day. "Humans nod to show agreement." "That is silly," said. "Shaking is much more natural. Nodding looks like you are about to bite something." Ho laughed. It was the first real laugh he had experienced since arriving on the ship. Han Solo remained serious but fair. He never treated Ho as an equal, but he respected his work. When Ho suggested improvements, Han Solo listened. When Ho made mistakes, Han Solo corrected him without cruelty. "You would make a decent engineer," Han Solo told him once, "if you were not so weak and furless." Ho decided to take it as a compliment. Admiral visited engineering less often now, but when she did come, her eyes always found Ho. They would exchange brief looks, sometimes a small nod, nothing more than that. But Ho thought about her often, too often. He thought about the tiredness in her eyes, the weight on her shoulders, the moment her mask had slipped. He wanted to help her somehow. He did not know how. He did not even know why he cared so much. Maybe it was because she had been fair to him. She had believed his story. She had protected him from the hostile crew. She had treated him with dignity. Or maybe it was something else, something he was not ready to name. On the 15th day, everything changed. Ho was in engineering working on shield calculations. The day had been quiet and normal. Nothing had seemed wrong. Then the ship shook. It was not a small shake. It was a violent jolt that threw Ho off his chair. All around him, equipment fell and crashed. Technicians stumbled and grabbed for handholds. Alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. "What is happening?" Ho shouted over the noise. Han Solo was at a main control panel, his claws flying over buttons. His face was grim. "The main engine," he said. "Something is wrong with the main engine." Another violent shake. This time, Ho heard a terrible sound, a deep groaning from somewhere in the heart of the ship. It sounded like the ship itself was in pain. "Coolant failure," Han Solo reported. "The primary coolant system has broken. The engine is overheating." Appeared at Ho's side. Her face was scared. "If the engine overheats too much, it will explode," she said. "Everyone in the engineering section will die. Maybe everyone on the ship." Ho felt cold fear wash through him, but he pushed it down. Fear would not help. He needed to think. "Can you shut down the engine?" he asked Han Solo. "We are trying," Han Solo said, "but the shutdown commands are not working. Something is blocking them." "A physical problem." It must be something in the control lines, but we cannot get to them. The engine room is too hot. The temperature is already lethal. Ho looked at the readings on Han Solo's screen. The numbers were terrifying. The engine was heating up fast. In maybe 20 minutes it would reach critical temperature. Then boom, no more ship, no more crew. There has to be another way, Ho said. What about the backup systems? Damaged, Han Solo replied. We do not know how. Everything was fine this morning. More were flooding into engineering now. Officers were shouting orders. Technicians were running to different stations. It was chaos. Then Admiral arrived. She walked through the chaos like it was nothing. Her face was calm. Her eyes were sharp and focused. Everyone moved out of her way. Report, she commanded. Han Solo explained the situation quickly. Coolant failure, engine overheating, shutdown commands blocked, backup systems damaged, 20 minutes until explosion. Listened without expression. When Han Solo finished, she asked only one question. Can it be fixed? Not in 20 minutes, Han Solo said. The only way to stop this is to manually close the fuel valves in the engine room, but the room is too hot. Any who goes in there will die before they reach the valves. His jaw tightened. How many crew members are in the engineering section? 412, Han Solo said quietly. 412 lives, all depending on reaching some valves that were surrounded by deadly heat. Ho's mind was racing. He was thinking about the problem, about heat, about survival. Wait, he said suddenly, wait. Everyone looked at him, the human, the outsider, speaking up in the middle of a crisis. How hot is the engine room? Ho asked. Han Solo checked his screens. 72 degrees Celsius and rising. 72 degrees. That was incredibly hot, hot enough to kill in minutes. Their fur made heat very dangerous for them. They could not sweat like humans. They could not cool their bodies efficiently. But humans could. I can do it, Ho said. Silence, everyone stared at him. What did you say? Admiral's voice was sharp. I can go into the engine room. Humans handle heat better than 72 degrees is dangerous for me, but not immediately fatal. If I move fast, I can reach the valves and close them. Han Solo shook his head. The temperature is still rising. By the time you get there, it could be 80 degrees, 85. You would cook from the inside out. Then I need to be fast, Ho said simply. Admiral stepped closer to him. Her golden eyes locked onto his. You would die, she said. You understand that. If you go in there, you will probably die. Ho met her gaze. He was scared. Of course he was scared. He had never been so scared in his life. But he thought about the 412 people in the engineering section. He thought about who had been kind to him. He thought about Han Solo, who had taught him so much. He thought about all the on this ship who had slowly accepted him. He thought about Admiral, about her tiredness, about her burdens, about how hard she tried to protect her people. He could not let them die, not if there was any chance he could save them. I understand, he said, but I am going anyway. For a long moment just looked at him. Her expression was strange, like she was seeing something she had never seen before. Then she stepped back and nodded. Give him whatever he needs, she ordered, now. Everything happened very fast after that. Technicians brought whole water to drink, lots of water. He needed to stay hydrated. They gave him wet cloths to wrap around his head and neck. They gave him thick gloves to protect his hands. Han Solo showed him a map of the engine room. The 3 fuel valves were marked in red. Close them all and the engine would start to shut down. The heat would stop rising. Everyone would live. You have maybe 10 minutes before the heat becomes fatal even for a human, Han Solo said. Probably less. Move as fast as you can. Do not stop. Do not rest. Close the valves and get out. Ho nodded. His heart was pounding so hard it hurt. Grabbed his hand. Her eyes were wet with tears. "Please do not die," she whispered. "You are my first human friend." Ho squeezed her hand. "I will try my best." Then he was at the door to the engine room. The door was sealed. Warning lights flashed around it. Beyond that door was heat that could kill. Ho took a deep breath. He said a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Someone opened the door. A wave of heat hit him like a physical blow. It was like standing in front of an open oven. The air burned his lungs. His skin immediately began to sweat. He ran. The engine room was huge. Massive machines towered all around him. Pipes ran everywhere like metal snakes. The floor was so hot he could feel it through his boots. The first valve was 50 meters away. He ran toward it, trying to ignore the heat, trying to ignore the way his body was already starting to fail. His vision blurred. His mouth was completely dry. Every breath felt like swallowing fire. He reached the first valve. It was a large wheel chest-high. He grabbed it and turned. It was stiff and hard to move. He put all his strength into it. The wheel turned, slowly at first, then faster. He heard a loud clunk as the valve closed. One down, two to go. He ran to the second valve. This one was farther away. The heat was worse here. He could smell something burning. He hoped it was not his skin. The second valve was even harder to turn. His hands were shaking. His arms felt weak. But he kept pushing, kept turning. Another clunk. The second valve was closed. Ho fell to his knees. His body wanted to quit. His body wanted to lie down and rest. But he could not. There was still one more valve. He forced himself to stand. His legs felt like they were made of water. He stumbled toward the third valve. It was the farthest one, the deepest part of the engine room, the hottest spot. His vision was getting dark at the edges. He could not think clearly anymore. He just moved. One step, another step, another step. He reached the third valve. He grabbed the wheel. He could not turn it. His arms had no strength left. The heat had drained everything from him. No, he could not fail now, not when he was so close. He thought about the people waiting outside. He thought about tears. He thought about Han Solo's serious face. He thought about Admiral's golden eyes. He thought about his mother back on Earth, about what she would say if she could see him now. Where there is life, there is hope. Ho screamed. He screamed and pushed with everything he had left, every bit of strength, every bit of will, every bit of his soul. The wheel turned. Slowly, so slowly, but it turned. Another clunk. The third valve was closed. The engine began to quiet. The terrible groaning sound faded. The temperature started to drop. Ho collapsed on the hot floor. He could not move anymore. He could not see. He could barely breathe. But he was smiling. Even as darkness took him, he was smiling. He had done it. He had saved them. When Ho woke up, he was in a soft bed. Cool air touched his skin. A machine nearby beeped with a gentle rhythm. He opened his eyes slowly. The light was dim and kind. He was in a medical room. Tubes connected his arm to bags of fluid. Bandages covered parts of his body. He felt weak but alive. Alive, he was alive. The door opened. Admiral walked in. She looked different somehow. The tiredness was still there, but there was something else in her eyes now, something warm. She sat down in a chair next to his bed. For a long moment, she just looked at him. "The doctors say you will recover fully," she said. "Some burns, some dehydration, but no permanent damage." Ho tried to speak. His throat was dry and painful, reached for a cup of water and helped him drink. "Thank you," he whispered. No said, "Thank you." She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer than he had ever heard it. 412 lives. You saved 412 lives today. My people, my crew, my family. Ho did not know what to say. He had not thought about numbers. He had just done what needed to be done. "The crew will not forget," continued. I will not forget. You are a hero, Ho, a true hero." She reached out and took his hand. Her clawed hand was gentle. Her fur was soft against his burned skin. "I was wrong about humans," she said. "I thought you were weak, soft. I thought the peace between our peoples was a mistake." She shook her head slowly. "But you showed me something today. You showed me that strength is not about claws or teeth or muscles. Strength is about heart. Strength is about being willing to die for others." Her golden eyes met his. "You have more strength in your small body than many warriors I have known. I am honored to have you on my ship." Ho felt tears in his eyes. He was too tired to stop them. They rolled down his cheeks and onto the pillow. "I was scared," he admitted, "so scared." Smiled a real smile, a beautiful smile. "Of course you were scared. Only fools are not scared of death, but you went anyway. That is what makes you brave." She stayed with him for a long time. She talked to him about her ship, her crew, her life. She listened when he talked about Earth, about his family, about his dreams. For the first time since he had arrived on the flagship, Ho did not feel like an outsider. He felt like he belonged. Outside the medical room, the ship continued its journey through space. The engine was repaired. The crew was safe. Life went on. But something had changed, something important. A human and had saved each other's lives, and in doing so, they had begun to build a bridge between two peoples who had been enemies for so long. It was just the beginning, but all great things begin somewhere. And sometimes they begin with a scared young engineer who ran into fire because he could not stand to let others die. It took Ho 3 days to fully recover, 3 days of rest, fluids, and careful medical attention. The doctors were skilled. They treated him like he was one of their own. On the 4th day, he was allowed to leave the medical room. When he stepped into the corridor, he found something unexpected. Were waiting for him, dozens of them. They lined both sides of the hallway, standing at attention. Ho stopped confused. Was something wrong? Then they began to howl. It was a long, rising sound, a chorus of wolf voices filling the air. It was wild and beautiful and powerful. Appeared at his side. She was smiling widely. "It is the honor howl," she explained. "We give it to heroes, to those who have proven their courage." Ho felt his face grow hot. He did not know what to do. He did not know what to say. So he simply bowed, deeply and sincerely. The howling continued as he walked through the corridor, reached out to touch his shoulder as he passed. A sign of respect told him, the highest honor they could give. When he finally reached the end of the corridor, Captain Han was waiting. Ho expected cold words. Han had never liked him, but the captain surprised him. "I was wrong about you," Han said. His face was serious but not hostile. "You have the heart of a warrior. I am honored to serve on the same ship as you." He held out his hand, a human gesture. He had learned it just for this moment. Ho shook his hand. No words were needed. The days after that were different. Ho was no longer just a guest. He was part of the crew. People smiled at him. They invited him to eat with them. They taught him games and songs. Admiral continued to visit engineering, but now she came more often, and she always stopped to talk with Ho. Their conversations were never long, a few minutes here and there, but they meant something. Ho could feel the connection between them growing. One evening, invited him to her quarters for dinner. Ho was nervous, very nervous. He spent an hour trying to make himself look presentable. He borrowed a clean uniform from supply. He combed his hair 5 times. When he arrived at her door, his heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. The door opened. Admiral stood there, looking more relaxed than he had ever seen her. She had removed her uniform jacket. Her silver fur seemed softer in the dim light. "Come in," she said. "Do not be so nervous. I do not bite." She paused. "Much?" Ho laughed despite his nerves. He followed her inside. Her quarters were different at night, softer. Candles burned on the tables, giving everything a warm glow. The weapons on the walls seemed less threatening. The massive window showed a beautiful view of the stars. A table had been set with food, dishes, but also some things Ho recognized. Someone had tried to cook human food. "I asked the kitchen to make something for you," said. "I do not know if they got it right." Ho looked at the table. There was something that might have been rice, something that might have been chicken, something that definitely was not anything from Earth but looked interesting anyway. "It is perfect," he said. "Thank you." They sat down to eat. The food was strange but good. The conversation flowed easily. They talked about many things, their childhoods, their families, their dreams. Ho learned that had been a warrior since she was young. She had fought her first battle at 16. She had earned her rank through skill and sacrifice. She had lost many friends along the way. He also learned why she was so tired. The Empire was struggling. Resources were low. The war with humanity had cost them greatly. And now, with peace, many did not know what to do. They had been warriors for so long. They did not know how to be anything else. "I worry about my people," admitted. "The peace is good, but it is also hard. We need to change. We need to find new ways to live, and change is always painful." Ho understood. Humanity had faced similar struggles after the war. Many soldiers had returned home and found themselves lost. The skills of war did not always translate to the skills of peace. "Maybe we can help each other," he said. "Humans, and together, we each have things the other needs." Looked at him with those golden eyes. The candlelight danced in them. "You really believe that, do you not?" she asked. "That we can be more than just former enemies, that we can be true allies, true friends?" "Yes," Ho said simply, "I believe it." Something passed between them in that moment, something unspoken but powerful, a connection that went beyond words. Reached across the table and touched his hand. "You give me hope," she said softly, "something I have not felt in a long time." Before Ho could respond, alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed. A loud voice boomed through the ship's speakers. "All hands to battle stations. Enemy ships detected. This is not a drill. All hands to battle stations." His expression changed instantly. The soft warmth vanished. The Admiral was back. "Stay here," she ordered. "Do not leave these quarters until I return." She ran out the door before Ho could argue. He sat alone in her quarters, listening to the alarms. His heart was pounding again, but now it was from fear, not nervousness. Enemy ships, but who? They were at peace with humanity. Who else would attack? He went to the window and looked out. At first he saw nothing but stars. Then he saw them. Dark shapes moving against the darkness of space. Ships, many ships coming fast. They were not human ships. They were not ships. They were something else entirely. Ho pressed his face to the window, trying to see better. The enemy ships were long and narrow, like knives cutting through space. Their hulls were covered in strange patterns. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predator fish. He had heard of these ships before, in stories, in warnings. They were a mystery. No one knew where they came from. No one knew what they wanted. They appeared without warning, attacked without mercy, and disappeared without explanation. They took no prisoners. They made no demands. They simply destroyed. And now they were here. The flagship shook as the first weapons hit its shields. The impact was strong enough to knock Ho off his feet. He grabbed a table to steady himself. Through the window, he could see the battle beginning. Ships were moving to intercept the enemy. Weapons fire lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. He should stay here, had ordered him to stay. It was safe here. But he could not just sit and do nothing. Not again. Not while people were fighting and dying. He ran out of the quarters and headed for engineering. The corridors were chaos. Rushed everywhere, shouting orders, carrying equipment, preparing for the worst. No one stopped Ho. No one even noticed him. When he reached engineering, Han Solo was at the main control panel. His face was grim. "What are you doing here?" he demanded when he saw Ho. "You should be in shelter." "I want to help," Ho said. "Tell me what to do." Han Solo hesitated for just a moment. Then he nodded. "The shields are taking heavy damage. We need to redistribute power from non-essential systems. Go to Station 7 and follow my instructions." Ho ran to Station 7. He had worked here many times. He knew the controls. Han Solo's voice came through the speakers, giving him instructions. Ho's fingers flew over the controls, redirecting power, strengthening shields, keeping the ship alive. The battle raged on. The ship shook again and again as weapons hit the shields. Ho could hear distant explosions. He tried not to think about what those explosions meant. Then Han Solo's voice came again, more urgent this time. "The enemy has broken through our lines. 3 ships are heading straight for us. Our weapons are not stopping them." Ho looked at his screens. He could see the 3 enemy ships approaching. They were fast and small, designed to get close and strike hard. Something about their approach looked familiar. The pattern, the formation, where had he seen it before? Then he remembered, in his training on Earth, a simulation about small craft attack patterns. "Han Solo," he called out, "I know what they are doing. They are trying to create a crossfire pattern. They will attack from 3 angles at once." "How do you know this?" "Humans use the same tactic. If we rotate our shields to concentrate on one ship at a time, we can take them out before they complete the pattern." Han Solo was quiet for a moment. Then, "Can you calculate the rotation sequence?" "Yes, I think so. Give me 30 seconds. Ho's mind raced. Numbers and angles and trajectories. He had been good at this in training. The simulations had been his best subject. He had never expected to use them in a real battle. He worked out the sequence and sent it to Han Solo. His hands were shaking, but his calculations were solid. "Sending to the bridge now," Han Solo said. 10 seconds passed, 20. The enemy ships got closer and closer. Then the flagship's shields began to rotate, exactly as Ho had calculated. The first enemy ship flew into concentrated fire. Its shields collapsed. It exploded in a ball of light. The rotation continued. The second ship tried to adjust, but it was too slow. Another explosion. The third ship realized the trap. It tried to escape, but without its partners it was alone, vulnerable. The flagship's weapons tracked it and fired. 3 explosions, 3 enemy ships destroyed. Around Ho, the engineering crew was cheering, hugged him so tight he could not breathe. But the battle was not over. More enemy ships kept coming. The fighting continued for hours. Ho worked until his eyes could barely see. He worked until his fingers were numb. He worked alongside the crew, doing whatever needed to be done. When the last enemy ship finally retreated, when the alarms finally stopped, when silence finally returned, Ho collapsed into a chair. He was exhausted, more exhausted than he had ever been in his life. Han Solo walked over to him. The old engineer's face was tired but proud. "Your calculation saved us," Han Solo said. "Without it, those 3 ships would have destroyed our main engines. We would have been helpless." "I just remembered something from training," Ho said weakly. "No," Han Solo shook his head. "You thought under pressure, you acted with courage, you did what needed to be done. That is more than training, that is who you are." Admiral arrived in engineering an hour later. She was wounded. A bandage covered her left arm, but she was alive. She was standing. Her golden eyes found Ho immediately. She walked to him, her crew watched, everyone watched. She reached out and placed her clawed hand on his shoulder. "I told you to stay in my quarters," she said. Ho swallowed hard. "I know, I am sorry. I could not just sit there while others fought." Was quiet for a moment. Then a smile spread across her wolf face. "No," she said, "I did not think you would." She turned to address the engineering crew. Her voice was strong and clear. "This human has saved our ship twice now, first from fire, now from the enemy. He is not just our guest, he is not just our ally, he is one of us. From this moment, Ho has the rank and privileges of an officer. He will be treated with the respect he has earned." The crew howled. That same honor howl Ho had heard before, but louder now, more powerful, more real. Turned back to Ho. In her eyes was something that made his heart stop. "We will talk more later," she said quietly, just for him. "When this is over, when we are safe, we have much to discuss." She squeezed his shoulder once, and then walked away to coordinate the aftermath of the battle. Ho watched her go. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know what the future would bring. But he knew one thing for certain. He was no longer the same person who had accidentally teleported into the Admiral's quarters all those weeks ago. That person had been lost and scared and small. Now he was something else, something more. He was a hero of the flagship. He was a bridge between two peoples, and he was important to Admiral in ways that he was only beginning to understand. The stars continued to shine outside the windows. The great ship continued its journey, and somewhere in the vastness of space, a new future was being born. A future where humans stood together, where enemies became allies, where fear became trust, and where a young engineer from Earth helped show the galaxy what humanity was truly made of. Not claws or teeth or weapons, but heart, courage, love. The things that really mattered. The days after the battle were busy. The flagship needed repairs. The wounded needed care. The dead needed to be honored. Ho helped where he could. He worked in engineering, fixing damaged systems. He visited the medical bay, offering comfort to injured crew members. He even attended the funeral ceremony for the who had died in battle. The funeral was held in a large room near the center of the ship. Hundreds have gathered to say goodbye to their fallen comrades. They did not cry. They howled. Long, mournful howls that echoed through the corridors and into the emptiness of space. Ho howled with them. His human voice was small and strange among theirs, but he did his best. And when the ceremony was over, many came to thank him for showing respect. Admiral found him afterward. She looked tired but peaceful. "You honor us," she said simply. "Not many outsiders would join our mourning." "They died protecting this ship," Ho replied. "They died protecting me. The least I can do is honor their memory." Studied him for a long moment, then she nodded. "Walk with me," she said. They walked through the corridors of the ship. It was late and most of the crew was resting. The hallways were quiet and dim. Led him to an observation deck he had never seen before. It was small and private. The window curved around them, giving a view of the stars that took his breath away. "This is my secret place," said. "I come here when I need to think, when I need to escape." She sat down on a bench facing the window. After a moment, Ho sat beside her. They were quiet for a while, just looking at the stars. "The peace talks are almost over," finally said. "The treaty will be signed soon. Your people and mine will officially be allies." Ho nodded. He had heard the news from the human ship through communication channels. After the attack, the two sides had grown closer. Shared danger had created shared trust. "That is good," he said. "It is what everyone wanted." "Yes," paused. "And when the treaty is signed, there will be no reason to keep you here. You will return to the horizon, to your people, to your life." Ho felt something twist in his chest. He had known this day would come. He had known from the beginning that his time on the flagship was temporary. But somewhere along the way, he had stopped thinking about it. Somewhere along the way, this ship had become home. These people had become family. And had become something he did not have words for. "I do not want to leave," he said quietly. The words came out before he could stop them. Turned to look at him. Her golden eyes were soft in the starlight. "I do not want you to leave either," she admitted. The air between them felt heavy, full of things unsaid. Ho began, and the way she said his name made his heart ache. When you first appeared in my quarters, I thought you were an enemy, a spy, a threat to everything I had worked to protect. She shook her head slowly. I was wrong, so wrong. You are not an enemy. You are not a threat. You are the most unexpected gift I have ever received. She reached out and took his hand. Her claws were gentle. Her fur was warm. You showed me that humans are not what I believed. You showed me that former enemies can become true friends. You showed me that there is more to life than war and duty and sacrifice. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. You showed me that even an old warrior like me can still feel things she thought she had forgotten how to feel. Ho's throat was tight. His eyes were burning. He said, I. He did not know how to finish. How do you tell someone that they changed your whole world? How do you tell someone that they became the most important person in your life? He did not have the right words, so he did something else. He leaned forward and pressed his forehead against hers. A gesture of deep affection and trust. Made a small sound, surprise. Then she pressed back, her forehead warm against his. They stayed like that for a long time. Two beings from different worlds, connected in a way that words could never capture. When they finally pulled apart, his eyes were glistening. I have thought about this carefully, she said. I have spoken with my superiors and with your captain on the horizon. There is a position that needs to be filled, a permanent liaison between the fleet and the human alliance, someone who understands both peoples, someone who has earned the trust of both sides. Ho's breath caught. Are you saying? I am requesting you for the position, said. You would be stationed on my ship. You would work directly with me. You would help build the new relationship between our peoples. She squeezed his hand. You would stay, she added softly, with me. Ho could not speak. His heart was too full. But he nodded again and again. Smiled, a real smile, the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The next few days passed in a blur. There were meetings and discussions and paperwork. Captain Han, who had become something like a friend, helped handle the details. Han Sol promised to continue teaching Ho everything he knew about technology, cried with happiness when she heard the news. The treaty was signed on a small station between the two fleets. Ho attended the ceremony as part of Admiral's delegation. He stood among officers, watching as human and alien leaders shook hands and made promises. It was a historic moment, the end of one era and the beginning of another. But for Ho, the moment that mattered most came afterward. Admiral was required to escort him to the horizon one final time. He needed to gather his belongings. He needed to officially transfer to his new position. He needed to say goodbye. The shuttle ride was short. Piloted it herself, just the two of them in the small craft. When they arrived on the horizon, Ho was surprised to find the entire crew waiting for him. Not to say goodbye, they said, to celebrate. They threw a party in the main hall, music and food and laughter, human and together, for had been invited too. Ho's old supervisor, Sung, was the first to congratulate him. I always knew you would do something special, the old man said. Even when you were fixing broken toilets and dirty filters, I knew you had something more inside you. Ho laughed. You never told me that. Of course not, your head would have gotten too big. Sung grinned. Now go, your admiral is waiting. And she stood near the window watching the party with curious eyes. She looked out of place among the humans. But when Ho walked toward her, she smiled, and suddenly she looked like she belonged exactly where she was. Your people are very loud, she commented. You have no idea, Ho replied. Wait until you see us on a holiday. They stood together, watching the celebration. Two outsiders who had found each other in the strangest way possible. Are you ready? Asked quietly. This is your last chance to change your mind. Once you return to my ship, you will be far from your people, far from everything you know." Ho thought about her question seriously. He thought about Earth. He thought about his family. He thought about everything he was leaving behind. Then he thought about the flagship, about Han Solo and even Captain Han, about the crew who had accepted him, about the battles they had survived together. He thought about her strength, her kindness, her hidden softness, the way she looked at him like he was something precious. "I am ready," he said. "My place is with you now." His eyes glowed in the light. "Then let us go home," she said. They left the party together. They walked through the corridors of the horizon one last time. Ho said goodbye to the places he had known, the memories he had made. At the airlock they stopped. On the other side was the shuttle, beyond that the flagship, beyond that a whole new life. Ho took a deep breath. Held out her hand, he took it. Together they stepped forward. The shuttle carried them back to the flagship. As they approached, Ho looked at the great ship through the window. It was massive and powerful and beautiful. It was home. They landed in the main bay. A crowd was waiting for them. The entire senior crew had come to welcome Ho officially. Captain Han stood at the front. His face was formal but friendly. "Ho," he announced loudly. "By order of Admiral and with approval from the Imperial High Command, you are hereby appointed as permanent liaison to the 3rd Imperial Fleet. You will serve with honor. You will work with dedication. You will represent the alliance between our peoples." He stepped forward and placed a medal around Ho's neck. It was shaped like a silver wolf, the symbol of the fleet. "Welcome home," Han said quietly. The crew howled. That beautiful, wild honor howl that Ho had come to love. He howled with them this time, and his voice was stronger than before. That night Admiral invited him to her quarters for dinner again, but this time was different. This time there was no danger waiting, no alarm about to sound, just the two of them and the stars. They ate and talked and laughed. They shared stories about their days. They made plans for the future. And when dinner was over, when the candles burned low and the stars wheeled slowly outside the window, they sat together on the couch and watched the universe go by. "Thank you," Ho said. "For what?" "For believing in me, for giving me a chance, for letting me become part of your world." Turned to face him. Her golden eyes were deep and warm. "Thank you," she replied, "for showing me that enemies can become more than friends, for giving me hope when I had none, for being exactly who you are." She leaned close. Her fur brushed against his skin. "I do not know what the future holds," she whispered. "I do not know what challenges we will face, but I know one thing for certain." "What?" "I am glad you fell into my quarters that day. I am glad you malfunctioned, because it brought you to me." She pressed her forehead against his again, that gesture of trust and affection that meant so much. "Stay with me," she said. "Not just as a liaison, not just as an officer. Stay with me. Be my partner, my companion, my—" She stopped, searching for the right word. "You're what?" Ho asked gently. Smiled, a smile full of promise and possibility. "Everything," she said. "Be my everything." Ho's heart was so full it felt like it might burst. "Yes," he said. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance. The great fleet sailed on through the darkness of space, and somewhere in the vastness of the universe, two souls that should never have met found each other. It had started with an accident, a malfunction, a mistake. But it became something beautiful, something rare, something that would be remembered long after they were gone. A story of courage and trust, of fear and hope, of enemies who became allies and allies who became so much more. The story of a young human engineer who fell into the quarters of the scariest wolf admiral in the galaxy and found exactly where he belonged,